Woo! Stakes, stakes, stakes. Of course, I think we are still actually a few minutes out from Champion Select, so don't get too crazy yet, audience. This is the brief interlude. We're kind of ramping you up in energy over the course of the day, as we always do in the Mom and Dad cast. So, bathroom, snacks, do it now, because you do not want to miss Schalke versus Vitality. At the start of the season, we would not have told you that this game was very important, because you would not have expected either of these teams to make it this far. But they are on the cusp of playoffs. Every win counts.
And yeah, we were just backstage a couple of minutes ago eating watermelon with Vedius, and he made the statement that I will now quote: this is probably the most important playoff game. This is probably going to be the most important game of the entire season, because as the analyst desk has pointed out, and as I'm going to remind you, probably 3 more times, because people jump in at different times, so don't worry, you'll hear it again. If Vitality win, Schalke and Origen are out. They're done. They're dead. If Schalke win, Origen still have a chance, and Schalke continue their miracle run. So the stakes are massive here for multiple teams.
Yeah, and just as you can see, if you've lived under a rock, if you've come back, if you've been in a coma and you woke up just in time for Super Week of LEC, congrats, great timing, glad you're out of the coma now. But also, stuff's just crazy.
You wake up, you're like, I'm super excited for the EULCS.
Oh man, I can't wait for the EUL. I can't wait to see what Fnatic's doing now with Caps. Really depends on how long you've been out, right?
Go back to sleep. Yeah, it's been an absolute mess. But I do really like one of the narratives that the analyst desk was proposing, and they actually stole it from the cast. This idea of, we have the forgotten first place team in Rogue. Well, obviously not first place now. Oh, sorry, guys.
Now they have been, yeah.
But we have the forgotten playoff team in Vitality. You know, it was always this discussion of Excel and Origen and SK. You know, Schalke starts to rise up, and no one is talking about how well Vitality have done, despite the fact that when they do make their wins, they make massive wins. Milica broke Humanoid's ankles in that LeBlanc performance. Has just been absolutely popping off. And so I hope that we get, even if Vitality fall down here today, like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm super excited about the Schalke Miracle Run. I think everyone is. But I really want to see Milica and Skeanz continue to rise to the occasion, because I think these two are exactly the combination that we've been waiting for Vitality.
And the thing that we always talk about at this point in the season, usually when 3 or 4 teams are eliminated, especially in summer, is about the idea of playing for your job and the fact that people are going to make roster changes.
Playing to play again.
Playing to play again, right? And that's a really big ideal here, because I think no matter what happens, no matter what stakes, no matter what is on the line, even if you can't make playoffs, you want to absolutely flex on your opponents. You want people to know that when they come back next year, they'll be looking at Milica one more time on this Vitality lineup, and they will fear him. That's what you're going for.
But we have made it. We are finally in Champ Select. Again, the stakes are massive. It is do or die for Schalke and Origen, whereas Vitality are playing for playoffs as well. Now, every team on blue side won yesterday. Schalke on blue side, that Caitlyn pick was so pivotal. Do Vitality give it away?
What do they free up if they do not ban it? Caitlyn, of course, not more than a flavor of the week at this point with the ludicrous win rate that she's been holding on to. Do we see another Jhin Caitlyn trade? Desk wasn't super excited about it. I wouldn't be excited about it either, but we have seen the lane phase go relatively close in a few different matchups.
Usually you would expect this to be a Volibear ban, unless you decide that you are going to give away the Caitlyn as the first pick and then get a Jhin Volibear rotation.
And we've seen the Jhin Volibear fall a little bit flat now. And you know, last patch I would have told you that, my God, what a terrible trade. Any circumstance where you give up Volibear is a bad idea. But here now, we could be seeing Gilius get his shot at Volibear, if that is going to be the first pick locked in for Schalke. Other popular champions, previously Orianna was obviously one of the big first picks. Hard to imagine giving that up for the Volibear.
I think Ezreal's the go-to, just because he's kind of the next safest ADC, especially when you can have the potential to find blind picks. And not that Gilius can't play Volibear, but he's found so much success on the likes of the Sejuani and the Lee Sin. I don't think there's any reason to force that one. Whereas Skeanz, also a big Lee Sin player, we'll see if he himself grabs the Volibear, and he's gonna do it.
And I gotta be honest, that does not feel like a great trade for me in favor of Schalke. Obviously, Ezreal is a very powerful champion, but when I look at Bard, looks like, to me, the strongest support in the meta right now, alongside Volibear, who obviously can still be a flex, but just generally expected to be the strongest jungler.
And I don't disagree with you. You know, if you take the nameplates off and you just see Bard and Volibear, I'm like, those are some really S-tier picks for their positions. But when the nameplates are turned off, do I really feel that Gilius is an S-tier Volibear? Or would I rather see a Camille Sejuani combo from Odoamne and Gilius up into the top side? Like, you know, it doesn't really fit with the team that I see. So I don't necessarily mind Schalke giving away Bard and Volley, despite how powerful those champions are.
And see what the final pick is going to be here for Vitality, because we've locked into Zoe in the mid lane for Abbedagge, and we've now confirmed the Ezreal Yuumi bot lane. Obviously, since the last time Yuumi was popular, she's received a ton of nerfs, and now most recently one buff to kind of try to bring her back into balance without being too oppressive.
Speaking of nerfs.
And yeah, wow, just a veritable who's who of really gutted meta champions, including Aphelios. Aphelios dropped off the map this week. Was already falling away last week, and now it's just pretty much been non-existent.
I will say that despite the fact that he is against an Ezreal and a Yuumi, a pretty notoriously safe lane with the ability to just strap the cat to the boy and then have the boy dash away, you do have a lot of kills set up here between the Bard CC, Bard damage, and Aphelios CC on top of having the Volibear. So maybe that's what they're opting into, grabbing the Aphelios here rather than going a Jhin or an Ashe route.
And of course, yeah, as a Zoe, you have to be careful not to portal jump forward when the Gravitum is out for Aphelios. We'll be able to just wait till you're back before popping the CC. I like the Sejuani bans now coming out against Gilius. He looked so solid when he was working together with Odoamne yesterday. Have to see what Schalke want to take away here. It looks like a second mid laner is probably what we can expect.
And the thing is Trundle has slipped through, and Trundle is still an option, especially when you're against a Volibear jungle. Also works fairly well with poke compositions, whereas you look at the first 3 picks from Schalke, you place down a pillar, it makes it that much easier to land all of the skill shots that you're throwing. So that's what I assume Schalke's going to go for, unless Gilius is really just feeling himself and goes for Lee Sin.
I'll be honest though, I feel like Schalke have a composition that, while it can in certain circumstances be very powerful, is a little bit more limited. You know, obviously Syndra can be a long-range poke machine, she can blow people up, Bard can start fights, Bard can disengage, where I feel like the Ezreal Yuumi and the Zoe, you just said it, they want to poke. They want slower fights. They're not always going to look for these front to back, which is going to make things very difficult around these dragons. That said, if we get the Gilius Lee Sin, no. Odoamne busting out the Shen, a champion who was pretty massively buffed on 10, 15, 20 more points in the shield at every single rank.
This means that Gilius could be more confident to go for a Lee Sin or Kha'Zix here if he doesn't want to go the Trundle, because now you have a pretty big security blanket with the Shen ultimate that you can kind of dive in and look for assassination. So if it is all about getting to that backline, killing the Syndra and the Aphelios, like I said, Kha'Zix is the go-to. That's what that Shen empowers. So this is still kind of the Camille Sejuani duo of the Gilius Odoamne. It's just this time around, it is Shen and Kha'Zix, the submarine composition.
And I think the stakes are a little bit higher with this duo, because Shen, obviously a champion who you want to be getting maximum impact out of that ult, especially early to mid game. And Kha'Zix, a champion who we've seen be very feast or famine. Either looks like he is taking over the game or he is absolutely doing nothing. It was a struggle to get that Kha'Zix to work yesterday when we saw it in the Origin game. Have to see if Gilius can have a stronger performance here, as the final lock-in will now beat the Sett for Cabochard on the top side of the map. Obviously, very solid matchup into tanks generally. Shen will be able to mitigate some of that with the Spirit's Refuge, but we'll have to keep our eye on this matchup.
And frankly, as we take a step back from both compositions, Vitality kind of like hit everything that you really want. They excel really well in trying to keep you from diving back into them. If Syndra is standing next to Aphelios, she just throws out the Scout of the Week, and hopefully Aphelios can fight front to back. There is technically outrange potential with the Ezreal and the Zoe against Aphelios, but there's not like, a zoning Orianna in front of him. It's just the threat of the Shen taunt, so Comp should actually be able to step forward and try to deal out damage. And then you have a very solid tank line in your Sett and Volibear with decent hard engage between Sett and Bard that kind of cover all of their bases. Whereas you already said it, Schalke's composition is very specific and very specific times, because it does rely so much on landing skill shots and making that poke stick.
Well, it's time to find out who will come out on top. Stakes are high. Schalke No Fear versus Vitality coming right at you. Hello, welcome back for that brief musical interlude. That was the most excitement and joy you're going to have for the rest of the day, Schalke and Vitality fans. It's going to be stressful. It is going to be a stressful 20 to 50 minutes. I'm saying 50 because when stakes are high, teams generally play a little bit slower. That said, though, Froskurinn, we are seeing a composition from Schalke that I feel like is set to explode when it comes to mid-game action between a Zoe and Ezreal and a Kha'Zix Shen combo. I feel like Schalke need to be making some plays.
Yeah, that is always going to be the assumption here. Also the fact that Zoe in tandem with Kha'Zix, you land one bubble, you chunk someone out, that pretty much puts you in perfect position for Kha'Zix to just land on you and blow you up. But obviously it's a bit more difficult and a bit stranger to execute on. I do want to talk about Abbedagge on Zoe though. I know know that the analyst says they were talking about, like, you know, God tier Gilius, king of Lee Sin, yada, 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 you know, it dreams, yes, hyped, hard engage champions. Abbedagge. Abba is probably the best Zoe player that we have in the league. I haven't seen Caps play Zoe in a hot minute, so maybe I'm corrected there. But he has just been killing it on this Zoe, and he has looked like a completely different mid laner recently. His performance the other day on Zoe was beautiful to watch, so I'm actually all aboard the Abba Zoe hype train.
Okay, so here's the deal.
I'm ready.
I made this graphic on the fly, so there's no way you could have known this. But while I'm excited for Abbedagge, he's going to have to dig some Zoe players out of the proverbial grave that they've been putting themselves in, because EU Zoes have not been a good thing to look at. It's currently 3-10, so personally I was really surprised. It really wasn't planned, I swear.
We're supposed to talk about this!
Well, here's the thing, is that I think you're right that Abba has been playing fantastic, but he's been picking a champion that hasn't been successful. So if he does succeed, if he does blow out Milica in the mid lane on this champion, if he does have this massive carry performance, it's an even bigger deal.
I would like to ask a question. Those 3 wins, are those entirely Schalke wins?
We'll find out, Marcus. I believe in you. All right.
Chat, please thank you to Marcus.
Now we take a look at the bottom side of the map. This is obviously going to be a very interesting bottom lane. I feel like while Ezreal Yuumi is solid, one of the things that it doesn't have up until level 6 is a ton of kill pressure on Aphelios, which could, if they're not able to sustain the push pressure here, free up Labrov to roam, and a roaming Bard is a happy Bard. But a top lane Shen into Sett might be the more immediate talking point, because this man is getting blasted.
There is very important information, but I did just actually get information from Marcus, and my previous statement is technically correct. So the 3 Zoe wins, 2 by Caps, 1 by Abbedagge. So my statement that Caps might be the better Zoe. Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you, Marcus. Continuing forward, though, I'll be honest, like, where do you want to go? Because I'm excited about top lane, I'm excited about bot lane, jungle's kind of meh for me, but everything else is super interesting to me.
I guess I'm curious where Volibear is going to strike first. I think you have to burn the flash off of Zoe first, otherwise you're never really going to have kill pressure on her. And as we say, this would be kind of the one window that you have. That's unfortunate.
Odoamne running up to flash forward to commit to the stun. Cabochard's coming down, but might be too little too late. Stolen flash from Abbedagge. Now, you want to talk about clean moves. That's going to feel very small to a lot of people, but the patience there to pick up Skeanz flash to then get out without committing any more resources, fantastic. Of course, if Milica had any more mana, he would have gone down. And still, Gilius might leap out to safety. Odoamne trying to cover. Sleepy Trouble from long range, but there will be no follow-up.
And the reason why Schalke are trying to force this so hard is because Milica doesn't have any mana. And so they thought that they might be able to contest, especially pulling Odoamne down. But I don't think it was the right call. It is Skeanz that does pick up, I believe, double Scuttle Crab. Yeah, so that's always going to be big, especially because Gilius wasn't hard farming while he was getting the double scuttle. He actually did try to contest it. So oftentimes you'll see junglers that if they don't contest for the double scuttle, that they'll actually kind of over the course of the game or over the first initial 1.5 jungle camp kind of like goes, they'll get the experience lead. But because Gilius did pop out into river and try to fight it, he's actually just behind right now.
It's going to be difficult. Losing out on all that additional XP, we'll have to keep our eye on the level number, especially. The CS number won't always be the best indicator of effective XP. But now as Skeanz goes over to pick up Krugs, he should be able to tick over to level 5 shortly, and level 6 obviously going to be something we have to keep our eye on. Very big for Gilius. Clear speed goes up significantly once you evolve the Kha'Zix Q, and obviously your damage output as well onto any isolated target. Here we see Cabochard doing what he can to hold on to the wave. At a bit of a deficit here as he hasn't picked up these creeps, but have to see what the early backs look like. Yesterday we saw the full tank build come out from Cabochard. Much better for team fights, much worse for the 1v1. Would like to see a Blade of the Rune King, but would understand if he's more worried about the team play overall.
I feel like he's always going to be a team player. I mean, technically he is dealing against a Shen, so you'd also think that you'd want to have the 5v5 tank build rather than the Bork kind of side lane build. But when you're in a team like Vitality that has so many young voices, you know, you kind of need a Cabochard on a Scion, on a Sett who's grouped up with the team and kind of helping lead the way there. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, a bit embarrassing there.
Odo's actually done a really good job. Like, outside getting blasted by that initial W when we first peeked in on top lane, Odo's sidestepped a couple of pretty key abilities with Cabo. Seems to have a read on how the matchup's going to work up here.
Yeah, a lot of good patience here. Obviously, 2 really major cooldowns in the Haymaker and the Spirit's Refuge. It is kind of just about playing around both, so very small windows of opportunity for either side, but a health lead for Odoamne is going to feel pretty good at this point. 2 resourceless champions, so they really can sit up here forever.
Just
early backs are not actually that consequential. in the grand scheme of things. Health regen for Sett, Grasp the Undying for Shen, so pretty easy to keep it going.
So what's really important here is not necessarily Skeanz and Labrov, but Milica. Milica is level 6. Obviously, Abbedagge, Zoe's 6 doesn't mean anything anyway, but it's just that power of having access to the Syndra ultimate, which really is going to empower Vitality to say, okay, yeah, we can walk up into this river and feel confident that if we do pull our mid laner over, we're stronger for the fight. So Schalke just kind of peeked at that Drake, and they're like, probably not. Not this one.
Well, definitely not. And while we talk about top laners being content to, you know, take their time before backing, Ezreal with no mana, still in lane, not picking up a tier, not picking up a Sheen, not picking up a Monomune, it does feel pretty rough here. He's just not very threatening at this stage of the game, allowing Comp and Labrov to just continue to pressure. Neon with no TP this game, notably, opting for the cleanse instead. So triple combat summons from Schalke in the bot lane does mean it's a bit harder for him to find a good back timing.
That shouldn't hit.
Yeah, well, as you've learned firsthand from our games earlier today, Bard hitbox is consistent, but super dumb.
Basically Nautilus hitbox.
That's the thing, is that people have been deceived by Nautilus. They've been baited, so they think Bard hitbox is reasonable. But trust me, it's not. It hits in some ludicrous circumstances. Bard main, by the way.
But it's been all quiet, if you will. Now, we talked about how Zoe, if they got an opportunity to try to get the early flash out of Abbedagge, there might have been kill pressure there. They didn't, so it kind of feels like we're just running into a wall. She now has enough points where she can wave clear pretty effectively, especially once she takes her next back. It's going to get even easier. Whereas now I actually feel the kill pressure is on Schalke's foot. You know, if one of these Sleepy Trouble Bubble hits and Gilius is in the area, you just chunk him out, sets it up beautifully for Kha'Zix, and that's kind of where I expect Schalke to attack, is teaming up their mid laner and their bug.
Yeah. Really need to see where the pick potential is going to come through, as you mentioned. I also want to point eyes towards the top side of the map, not because I think Cabochard and Odoamne are going to kill each other, but more because I think Odoamne's ult is going to be massive in getting a man advantage on one side of the map, trying to generate some kind, because with both top laners using their TP to return to lane, Odoamne is up a global, and as long as Cabo can't, well, dunk him out of his ultimate, he's going to be able to go anywhere he needs to really double down on any sort of pick, any sort of advantage that Schalke are going to try to build.
Which is why it feels like Vitality, like if we're talking about like Schalke can try to play the pick game, especially in the mid lane with their two champions, Vitality are going to be playing the monster objective game. They've already gotten the first Drake. You can see that they're swapping for tempo to try to get numbers advantage on this Herald. It obviously is more impactful because you just talked about how Shen's ultimate empowers you to play cross map. Well, if you swap to Shen, he can't TP anywhere. So you get to negate that, which is what Vitality are setting up for.
And additionally, we just have a lot more effective team fighting ultimates from the side of Vitality. Volibear ult going to feel a lot stronger, a lot more impactful than Kha'Zix ult in a full-on 5v5. Similar story for the ult coming out of Comp. Ezreal ult obviously can be very strong, but we'll have to keep our eyes on that one as we go in. See if the Sett can really make an impact there. Always feels good to play into a tank as Sett, really maximizing that bonus health damage. Here we see the setup now. Dreams coming over the wall with Gilius to try to let a bit of poke down. Gilius, can you find another Miracle Smite? It does not look like they want to contest here, but the Redemption coming down, and good damage comes in from Abbedagge. That's going to be a sleepy Volibear. Could have gone unstoppable with the ultimate, but instead he's going to wait. Gilius pulling back just a little bit, and they will get nothing in the exchange here from the side of Schalke.
Yeah, just great job to Vitality. They swapped first. They also left altogether, making sure that they're covering basically every vantage point. Milica standing in Fog of War, threatening Abbedagge that he couldn't even pop into the fight to try to look for any of those picks there. So just very well executed. Also handing it over to their AD carry. We're starting to see this become more and more common. It's no longer the junglers that are grabbing the heralds. It's usually always the AD carries, so they can be left alone to their own devices as other people unlock themselves, kind of play around the map and start funneling plates into their pockets, which is what Comp's going to want to do.
And it's also nice when you have a Volibear on your team who can be a relatively low econ jungler. Kha'Zix obviously wants a decent amount of gold for himself, but Volibear can be pretty happy with just tank items. The stats, the base stats rather on that champion are pretty ridiculous on their own, especially now that Skeanz and Gilius have both finished their basic jungle enchants. Comp though definitely has to be careful. Bard certainly has some peel, but is not nearly as reliable as something like a Tom Kench, something like a Nautilus or a Thresh. So Comp has to be careful anytime he steps forward.
But we're finally seeing Abbedagge get unlocked from this lane as he cheats up slightly in River to perhaps look for a, what's the word? Roam?
Roam. Good word.
Yeah. I need more coffee.
It's fine. Not everyone is going to mix their coffee with Coca-Cola with ice cream before they
Yeah, I don't know why you did that.
I don't know why I did either, and it did not taste as good as I wanted it to, but it certainly had the desired effect for caffeine. Speaking of things that are going to get you amped, match of the week, Rogue vs. Mad, Game 5. Both teams on a bit of a losing streak. Will not stop it from being an absolute banger here as Comp gets a sick cancel on the recalls.
Listen, there's a glass half empty and there's glass half full. You went for half empty. Mad could be the first team to qualify for Worlds.
That's actually true. That's pretty crazy. It doesn't feel... I know it's a technical qualification because no matter what happens, they will get a seed, but it doesn't feel the same, you know?
Okay, so everything has actually gone pretty much according to plan for Vitality in this early game. You can see that the second Drake is being started right now.
Correct.
And Schalke are way behind this play. I don't think that they get a chance in hell at stealing this one away, unless it is a very cheeky snipe, and no, there we go. And this is not looking good.
Here's the thing that makes this tough, is that they have, in theory, are at least able to match the globals. Of course, Syndra has a TP, which does make Zoe a little bit less able to reliably match the global advantage here, but you'd expect the Shen comp to be more comfortable and more quick getting to some of these plays. So Vitality playing very well to, I think, outmaneuver Schalke here early on in the game. However, overall, I'd say that Schalke's composition just feels like it either hasn't come online or Schalke just have not found any windows to make it work.
I think it's finding the windows that you need to execute on, because it's like, what is Odoamne going to ult onto in the bot lane? Like, this is what you want. You want Cat on Bug, and you want Ninja on Bug on Cat.
Wow.
And you just want to send it in there.
Have you considered Cat attached to psychotic little girl?
On Bug on Ninja?
Yeah, okay. This is too complicated. This is way too anime for me, quite frankly. All right. Now we finally have the Herald coming out of the bottom side. Obviously not ideal usage to break the tower, but will lead to, I believe, 2 or 3 plates here into the favor of Comp, which should allow him to jump up a little bit and get closer to that first item completion. Has to be careful, though. Odoamne can mitigate a lot here with the Spirit's Refuge, but does not want to use that cooldown, knowing that he could be vulnerable to a dive. No eyes on Volibear. And you see the ward placed over the wall. They're just hoping, thinking maybe he'll catch something out. In the meantime, Schalke are going to respond with some plates of their own. But Cabochard going to be in trouble. He's going to go for the pullback. He's no longer isolated. They have to be careful. Big haymaker going to hit Gilius, but Cabo's still going to drop here in the end. Not tanky enough. His first blood goes to Schalke.
Yeah, finally a 14-minute almost there on the clock first blood. It took a very long time, but that's kind of the idea of what Schalke want to execute with this composition. Meanwhile, I still feel like it's a huge win for Vitality. You know, Aphelios just got all of this gold, all of this free experience, all of these plates, and a really nice stacked wave to shove into the next tower. He's going to feel very powerful in this next back.
And it's always just very difficult to make the decision to try to race an Aphelios on tower taking, because with Chakram, and any gun he's annoying, but with Chakram especially, he just shreds through towers. With the Herald as well, it just makes it worse. So on the end, we'll get some gold back. You're right, Froskurinn, the gold is still dead on even. Vitality still have 2 Drakes, and Aphelios is now 1 item, while Ezreal is still only got the man immune, so...
And I just feel like Vitality are setting themselves up really well, where their item breakpoint's going to feel really healthy for this Drake that's spawning in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, which is going to put them on a very fast soul point. And now it's kind of like a race for Schalke to get it into gear in kind of the next 7 to 8 minutes. Like, maybe they decide that they don't like their positioning, and so they kind of give away this Mountain Drake that's about to spawn, but obviously you have to fight the next one. So, like, Schalke need to get very decisive about what they're going to do, because they can no longer just kind of AFK farm in their lanes and jungle.
And this is the problem for me, because one of the most decisive members of the Schalke lineup is Dream in the support position. Now, he's played 2 Yuumi games this season. He has not won a single one of those. So I'll have to see if this can be a difference. However, Abbedagge has been caught out. Will use his stopwatch. Gilius going to buy a bit of space for him. Will leap out, though, respecting the potential level 11 Syndra ult damage. Challenging smite, though. Very nice for Abbedagge to have. Will stop Milica from one-shotting him.
Also, really helps Abbedagge there that he didn't need that ultimate, as there's a deep teleport and Comp's in trouble.
Yeah, I'm now stepping forward. Comp trying to outplay here, trying to go for the 200 years, but I don't know if he can make it happen. The flash before the taunt's a bit awkward there. Odoamne going to grab that one.
Yeah, you do not have the guns or the items for the 200 years. That was not going to be your montage moment there. Sorry about that, Comp.
Now Gilius just going to start up the Rift Herald in the meantime. So right when we ask for, right when it feels like Schalke have to make some plays, they do find those opportunities. That said, I'm still a little worried, Froskurinn. We've talked about this before. When Schalke were struggling, we were like, put Dreams on a playmaker. They were winning, and then they put him back on the Yuumi, and that is a big fear of mine. Obviously a strong champion, but Dreams, I want the Nautiluses. Even the Tom Kenches look like playmakers in his hands.
Because I think it's about empowering, you know, your big playmaker, your difference makers. You know, is Neon the difference maker versus Dreams? And when you're on a Yuumi, yeah, you can also empower Gilius on that Kha'Zix when he's got the Shen and the Yuumi combination like packed into his backpack. But otherwise, you're much more reliant on Neon being the carry for the game rather than Dreams on the Nautilus. And I think that's where I'm kind of with you, where you took one of your best players, a really big key member of your success, and you put him on a champion that doesn't have a ton of agency. Powerful, but not a lot of agency.
Agreed. And when we look at this composition overall from Schalke, it just has, quite honestly, a pitiful amount of hard CC. And a lot of it is not super reliable. You're looking at Taunt, something that's easily, you know.
I mean, there's not a lot of hard CC really anywhere. It's
that's
like,
actually really,
it's Bard ultimate and like Sett ult and maybe a Volibear and a Scatter.
But we don't have a Sejuani, we don't have an Ornn, but now we might not even have a comp in this game as Shen is now coming in. Comp's gonna be in trouble. Odoamne gonna move in just in time to get Gilius the kill. They're using fantastic work with that Shen ult.
Is it fantastic work? Like, don't get me wrong. That's how that's supposed to work. But that's one of those moments where Comp just takes his hands off the keyboard. He's like, what is that Kha'Zix damage?
I mean,
this is unreasonable.
You queued up for this when you picked Aphelios. You knew what you were getting yourself into. You are not nearly as imbalanced as you were on previous patches, Mr. Comp.
And yet Kha'Zix still very imbalanced. So we talked about how Vitality were actually going to have great itemization to go for this. You know, Syndra had her Ludens, you had the battle stats from the crit on the Infinity Edge. Like, it would have felt really nice. Obviously, if you're caught out in transition, though, and by caught out, I mean literally walking hand in hand next to your tank, but it doesn't matter because Kha'Zix things.
I mean, yeah, okay, so 40% of his health with a jungle item is pretty ludicrous. Obviously, a bit of lethality as well. The Flash Guardian heal from Labrov, not enough. And that's one of the things. I love Bard, but Bard is not a great heal support. That Guardian and that itty-bitty heal are the only thing he's doing to keep his carry alive in that fight.
I really like what Perk said on PGL yesterday, which was, you're not really an AD carry in this meta. You're kind of like an AD support. You're basically there to push down towers, and that's kind of your responsibility right now. You kind of show up, you're like the cannon. If you get the big 5v5, yeah, you can like pew, 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 but when a champion like Kha'Zix exists in the game, it's just like that. Like, well, Comp has to be on best behavior not to get caught out. And even if he's next to his tank, it doesn't matter. He's like, where am I supposed to stand?
Where is he supposed to farm? Because let me tell you, the lane he's in is definitely not the answer. He has some CC, but Gilius can just take his time here. Bard on the way. Ooh, Gilius is going to feel like he missed a window.
Yeah, and Odoamne doesn't have ultimate. Like, Gilius is really doing the math right now.
He's going to... My guess, he's got 700 gold and he's about to back for a Duskblade, which will certainly feel good if he can get level 11 alongside that. Second evolve. My personal opinion, ult, I like the extra point, but could go for wings, could go for the spike rack as well.
I mean, if you go for the,
Ulti's more stealth, which you probably don't, you might not need.
The ult's really important to allow their composition to work because he does need to find like these flank maneuvers to kind of get into the background. So thank you, observers. Be sure to show us when he turns level 11 to see what he's going to evolve. But Spikes is also kind of like the other common one that you see all the time.
One thing that I do like about Spikes is that Spikes is really nice in a poke composition because the range goes up, you get the triple spike, and isolated targets get slowed by like 80%, which is, you know, I can't imagine an easier sleepy trouble bubble to land unless it's a just actually stunned target. So definitely some room to play with. I think it really depends on how much of a carry Gilius feels like. Because the real alpha move...
he is the carry for this composition.
Then wings is absolutely the move. Just make it a bounce house. Give us the Season 3 Alex Ish special. The League of... Oh, God.
He's definitely not going to do wings. Okay. Let's think about Vitality, because it's still not over for them. They were set up. They wanted to do the Drake. Unfortunately, Comp died. Now they just need to get back onto track. Now, there is a bit of a trough here between Aphelios and Ezreal's itemization. You don't need me to do the math for that one. You have eyes. You can touch it to the scoreboard right now. So Vitality just need to continue to find safe farm zones for Comp, but as you said, that is kind of difficult right now because Gilius is hunting him. That's his only responsibility. And quickly get Aphelios to kind of the next breakpoint on his item. And as soon as they're there, then Vitality feel, again, super confident to group up and try to force against Schalke.
Literally, Schalke are so committed to this plan that they've left Neon all on his lonesome, and I think Gilius is actually sharing camp XP unintentionally with his Yuumi. Oh, no, Dreams is a good lad. Stepping away. Neon, though, taking over to level 11 before Gilius. A little bit awkward there, but all things considered, I feel like I cannot stress how insane level 11 Kha'Zix is. I really want this man to get his second evolve.
Yeah, I actually think that they should find a lane for Gilius right now.
Yeah,
especially because Drake is
Odoamne
130.
doesn't need farm. He built Titanic. He's fine.
Oh, this is a bit awkward. Like, Gilius is hunting around for any sort of minions right now.
CC, cleanse out. Will be enough. Ulti coming in, forcing the flash out of Neon. Solid play, slow play from Vitality, but really making it work there. Mid lane tower being broken in an instant, and that is a very big deal.
Yeah, it's actually huge because, again, Gilius was just wandering around the jungle. He's just trying to find anything to farm so he can get level 11. Vitality had been grouped up and hard forced that lane.
Hell yeah, spikes racks, even spike racks. Even faster jungle clear. Isolated target's gonna get big ol' slows. It's gonna feel good. There's really no wrong choice when you're a fed Kha'Zix. There's just slightly more optimal choices when you're an even or behind Kha'Zix, I think.
I just don't think 2-0 is a fed Kha'Zix.
Yeah.
I mean, if he lands on comp, he's gonna kill him.
Yeah. Maybe Kha'Zix is just too powerful, actually, now that I think about it. Because when I look at his eye, I'm like, they both have 2 items for Frosk, and then I look at how much that costs. Yeah. Ooh. Let's save that one for when they come up, Froskurinn. We don't need to bring it back into
Okay,
this.
round 2. Can Secret Agent Gilius kill comp?
The difference, this time, who's there to back him up? He's got armed protection.
I mean, the thing is that Cabochard could ruin Gilius's day.
Oh, protect the president! Don't let him go down! Oh, Gilius is after the president. Comp running for his life. The suplexes, everything's coming out. They've stopped it all. The president is alive, but he's not doing any damage. Meanwhile, on the backside, Milica's gonna find one. Comp still standing. Schalke scrambling to find these kills, but they won't get the opportunity. That's the triple dot. That's big damage coming in. Oh, you were worried about the Kha'Zix, but you didn't know the Shen hit like a truck. Gilius now coming through the fight. Stealth gonna have a brief moment here. Gonna find another one. The reset comes out. Dreams, Abbedagge. Little girl, little cat. What can they do here? Taking down the big bear. Next up is the big man. Mecha Sett, no chance here. Stolen flash, leap out. Drowsy, come back. Boom, boom, slap, styling on him. Oh, God, just embarrass him. Breaking his ankles. There's nothing you can do, Cabo. You're just going to be embarrassed after this one. Your champion has no agency. Oh, that was great emote usage.
Oh, no! It's a disaster for Vitality. And you saw it for a split second. Everyone's like, Comp survived. Vitality could win this. But like you said, so much damage comes out of all the other members of Schalke. I thought as soon as Milica showed up that, okay, Vitality, they've got this one. Like, Neon is in a terrible position, just gets blown up by Syndra. But Odoamne and Abbedagge do so much damage. Remember what I said about Abba Zoe? Abba Zoe, man.
And also, we were talking about Titanic Hydra in general this morning. Deceptive amount of burst damage on any tanky champion with the Titanic.
Don't you just hate it when tank champions?
Kha'Zix takes half your health and the Shen taunts you and takes the other half. Yeah, that's pretty tough. Yeah, this, guys, do not look at this as Cabochard playing bad. He actually can't do anything. The champion is so fast with Nimbus Cloak stealing all of these spells, he can't hit a skill. It's not his fault. He's just set up to get embarrassed. Speaking of potentially embarrassed, Labrov actually gonna make it out of that one, but here comes Comp and damage in the last fight. My God, Froskurinn. Reminder, this is what the average Zoe looks like in our region. That's what Abbedagge's Zoe looks like. Absolute God tier performance.
Now look at him. Now back to me.
Don't you wish your tiny girl in the mid lane did damage like mine?
The problem is like Abba's gonna have a great game on this Zoe, and then people are gonna play it in solo queue, and you're just gonna get reminded why Zoe is a terrible champion.
Cough, cough, Ender. Hello, no more. Anyways, we push further. The gold is still very even, all things considered. So while that fight felt like, ooh, so good for Schalke after it started a little bit rough, still have to keep our eyes on how this one is going to move forward. That said, Abbedagge definitely doing his best caps performance with this Medjai's pickup. If he finds 20 stacks, he will be one-shotting people left and right. And
he doesn't need 20 stacks to one-shot people. If he tags anyone, it's going to be huge damage, which is why Milica has immediately pivoted into a Banshee Veil.
Yeah, that is very difficult. But when you look at Aphelios, that third item could be a Phantom Dancer. It very much could. And that would probably be the best defensive choice at this point, but I don't think that's going to be enough to save him, that little shield.
He basically just needs to not get caught, which means that Vitality's vision needs to be so deep and covering a lot of their flanks and constantly sweeping out around them. They just need to, in their setup, be really diligent and very disciplined because of the nature of the composition composition that they're playing against. Schalke's comp, of course, is going to thrive in Fog of War, and its ability to place pressure when you don't get deep vision is really terrifying, especially for how powerful this Zoe is right now.
So why don't we take a look at that? Observers, if you can show us exactly what Vitality can see right now, we can maybe get a little bit of a scorecard on how Schalke are doing. So haven't pushed their vision line too forward yet. You can see that Vitality still have a lot of points in their jungle where they can see, but Schalke, as they get further and further ahead, will just continue to push that vision line forward.
Again, the issue is always going to be trying to find Comp a lane that he can farm in, because he cannot go to any of those side lanes that other AD carries traditionally would, and I don't think Syndra can either. Yeah, Milica does have TP, and she can at least try to trade 1-for-1 depending on how she plays out into that side lane, but obviously when your mid laner and your AD carry are both standing next to each other, like, look at where Comp walked. He started to walk bottom, then he walked mid lane, then he walked towards the jungle, now he's back walking towards the mid lane, and meanwhile, he's not picking up any more gold.
Very, very difficult position for an Aphelios to be in. Of course, everyone is still holding out for the point where he becomes that crazy late game montage-making hyper carry, but a lot of that power has been taken down a notch in recent patches. You can see a little bit of that here, obviously still clearing the wave very quickly, but that damage output on the flamethrower will be a little bit weaker in team fights to come. And that said, it's just going to be very hard for him to have the front-to-back 1v5 Aphelios dream. It just doesn't seem like a fight that Schalke are going to let themselves get caught up in at this point in the game.
I think you're right. I think he's going to go for the Phantom Dancer to try to get the lifeline passive.
I think you have to at this point, right?
There he goes.
There it is. I've always liked the Death Stance third, but I think that once he picks up that crit cloak, he has to go for it. Even after the nerfs, I still love Death Stance on Aphelios. It's just so much physical damage that isn't an auto attack.
So naturally, the third Drake is coming up potentially. We're 2-for-2 split right now. We just talked about how Aphelios now has the lifeline passive with the Phantom Dancer, so hopefully that makes it a little bit harder for Gilius and Dreams to assassinate him. But again, Zoe is now a big problem. So it used to be previously, kind of before these last two fights went sideways for Vitality, that you just had to worry about the Kha'Zix, and if you survive the assassination potential, that it would be fine. Now with Abbedagge picking up these kills, picking up these mid-Jai stacks, it gets a little bit harder for Vitality. I'd actually like to see them use some of their pick tools, namely Syndra as well as Bard, instead of just trying to walk into 5v5s.
Makes a lot of sense. That said, Cabochard still fishing for a flank here. And obviously one of the strengths Vitality has is a very beefy front line in the Volibear and the Sett. They're going to feel a lot less strong, though, once Gilius finishes that Black Cleaver, especially now that Neon has that Blade of the Rune King. The poke coming down. And Froskurinn, we kind of said at the start of the game, and I want to reiterate here, it's just any time we're in these high-stakes matches where the stakes are very, very clear, not X tiebreaker scenario, 1 in a million, but lose and you die, essentially, teams always feel like they play so much more cautiously.
That's because your entire season, your entire year is on the line. If Schalke lose this, like, yeah, they'll get to play another game, but that's it. They're going to off-season.
Brutal after the turnaround. And obviously the fan favorite for the Schalke Miracle Run, but Quickshot pointed out earlier as well. It's also been a crazy series, or a crazy year for Vitality. Finally feeling like their roster is coming together. Skeanz showing up and making a big difference here. Have to see if Vitality can find the fight that they're looking for. Trouble Bubble to start it off is big. Labrov catching out Odoamne in the side. Comp trying to find an opportunity to auto-attack, but hasn't found it quite yet. Skeanz going in, Volibear going in.
Gilius got it.
Gilius finds it, and Neon now on the chase. Labrov's made it out 4 now. Magical Journey through the wall. Good damage coming in from the backside. That Frozen Mallet making it impossible to get away. The Binding will not connect, and look at the damage coming in from Abbedagge. Odoamne over the wall. The Ezreal ult over the backside. It's just too clean. Schalke are mowing down Vitality. Comp can do nothing in these exchanges. The flash forward for Neon. Absolutely no hesitation as the triple goes down for Gilius.
And Origin fans are losing it right now. I think for a minute there, they were getting a little bit nervous, maybe like wringing their hands, but they see that team fight, and suddenly the Miracle Run feels so much more real. Origin are like, we potentially still have a leg in this race.
Oh, well, looking at the way Schalke is performing right now, that's
18 stacks on Abbedagge right now. So obviously the big issue is that Vitality were late to rotate into this, tried to stall out. Now Gilius makes the executive decision that he is just going to focus on the Drake, does manage to secure it there. So Skeanz and Cabo late to the party.
600 health.
And then with the tanks busy with the Dragon, there's nothing to really protect Vitality's backline. It's also kind of difficult anyway against a poke composition, but Abbedagge and Neon are just lighting up the backline, and by the time the fight actually starts, you have basically all of the carries from Vitality on like 25 to 30% HP. So it's an easy call for Schalke to be like, okay, chase them down, kill them. And now, what was, I think, 8 stacks heading into this fight is now 18 stacks.
And just such a good look for Schalke, and we're also just seeing how confident they are playing. Because I look at this draft, and this is not nearly as easy to execute as the ones that they've had in the past. The Shen pick coming out for Odoamne has looked so good. This fight, we're taking turns on our carries. Abbedagge got 6k damage last fight. This time it's Neon.
Yeah, and I want to really credit Neon. He did a good job delaying Vitality. One of the reasons why Vitality were so late to pivot into that pit is because Neon basically planted his feet in front of them, and with the Iceborne Gauntlet, slowly kited them into the area, like stood right in front of the tank line and was just dishing out massive damage.
And you can see why Schalke would be willing to first pick this champion, because it's just so flexible. If you need to be more of a hyper carry, you can go Trinity Force. If you don't, if you got so many damage threats on your team, you go Iceborne, and you are so incredibly obnoxious to deal with, on top of being perfect to clean up all of these extended exchanges.
Deep TP flank. It's Cabo. Is he going to just grab Neon?
It's very difficult to pull off, though. Neon going to go over the wall there, clever. Just to make it out, and just needs to connect him, throws it, but Cabochard going to pull him back. Shen now coming in. They're debating, though. They don't even want to take this fight. Abbedagge now stepping forward. Vitality caught in enemy territories. Odoamne is going to leap in. He's going to find the taunt. Comp now going to be in trouble. Gilius on the backside. Eyes on that. Yuumi now going in. Comp is going to get taken out just like that. Vitality are getting picked apart. They cannot find the 5v5 they're looking for. They're getting no opportunities to hit priority target. Gilius goes invisible at the perfect time. It's a triple for Abba. That was so clean.
And like you said, just literally ripped apart from the outside. They got attacked from every single angle, and every single person on Schalke is doing ridiculous amounts of damages. Now, they're just going to chase down Labrov. Let him go!
Mikhail's coming out. Makes it easy for the follow-up. Isolated as well. Dreams is even hopping off the body just to make sure he can get in on the action. And now Skeanz going to be the one in trouble. Good night, Mr. Bear. That's going to be an ace for Schalke, and wow.
This game has very quickly gotten out of control.
Yeah, I would say the Death Cap 25 Magi stack Zoe is a very clear indicator that the game is no longer in, well, Vitality's control at least. This is feeling pretty done and dusted. Now, we've seen a lot of miracles in the last few days, a lot of crazy steals, a lot of crazy stuff. But that said, I don't think you can come back from this one.
Now, naturally, again, huge credit to Neon to stall this one out long enough for his team to respond. Because look at where they are on the map. They're so far away. Neon goes over the wall, stalls out Cabochard. The Bard ultimate comes down. Neon's like, I just need to plant my feet, and I need to decide what's going to happen right there. Cabo does eventually get a hold of him. The cleanse comes out. The Shen ultimate comes out. And now the rest of Schalke have begun to collapse, and it's just shooting fish in a barrel in this tiny little choke point. Look at that damage from Alba right there.
Well, and you've got Gilius on the backside as well, and he even comes into this fight pretty late, all things considered, so I don't think Comp actually takes any damage outside of the W. Actually does, just gets absolutely blasted. There's just too much damage on this roster at this point. And Froskurinn, it feels like Vitality knew that they needed to do something, and they just did not identify the right opportunity to do so. Because while Skeanz and Cabochard were in position to beat up on that Ezreal, that is an Ezreal with an Iceborne Gauntlet and a Blade of the Rune King. He does not go down very quickly, and while they're trying to hit the Ezreal, no one is in a position to follow up, and they're just getting blasted.
You think when you see a composition like this, like usually what you need is you need hard engage. And I think that's kind of one of the things that Vitality is missing on their comp. Like there were other things that happened, you know, obviously people getting picked off at inopportune times that kind of desynced their power points to where they wanted to have fights, or successful fights, if you will. But you know, when your only engage is like Bard ultimate, Scatter the Weak, and Sett's ult,
yep.
I think this is what happens when a poke composition just gets you under towers and then just takes pot shots at you.
Yeah, and obviously Labrov is fishing, trying to find something back, but the thing about the Schalke composition is that it's just insanely good into Bard. Every single champion has a way to get away from the Bard ultimate. These are not the immobile carries like the Aphelios or the Ashe or the Varuses of patches past. This is a very mobile set of champions that just aren't really going to get reliably caught out or be caught grouping up for this Bard ultimate.
And Odoamne is unmovable. He is so tanky.
289 to the 220 of Cabo. Now, admittedly, maybe Cabo's giving up some of that
He's
CS
level
over to
18 to
Gaunt.
level 15. There's nothing that they can do to Odo.
He's just walking away. For now, they're holding on. They're trying to get something done, but a clean taunt coming in from Cabo on the follow-up now from the Cat. Gilius going to leap back over the wall. Not all of their damage is there, but it does not matter because Odoamne, as previously mentioned, is unkillable, especially when you pack a Cat on top of him. Second taunt going to come in, and I think Schalke are over it. I think Schalke want this game to end. They can take this inhibitor. If they want to keep pushing forward, they absolutely can. Maybe they play it out slow and steady, but they've got all the tools they need to end.
They could also fall back and try to go for the Drake Soul if they're really not feeling this one, because that is a lot of members for Vitality still alive, but they go for it.
Go, the classic Shen taunt flash to finish the deal. Labrov goes down. Dream's gonna take that one. Neon now stepping forward. Can't even get one shot by Milica. The flash out to safety. Heal now coming in. That's it. Nexus exposed. Schalke, the miracle run alive. They will have to step over the body of Vitality to make it happen, but they're more than happy to do so.
And the thing is they have everything to lose now. Trevor said it on the desk. You know, at first, Schalke probably didn't believe it. We didn't believe it. But now they're this close. They're so close to actually doing it.
It's incredible.
It would be.
People are always like, obviously the league's not scripted, it's just a meme, but then you show them stories like this and you're like, guys, we're not that smart. We're just not that good of writers. Like, we can't come up with this stuff. It's too crazy. You wouldn't believe it. If I wrote this in an opening, you'd be like, this is the dumbest story I've ever heard. I would never believe that this could happen.
And then the worst team goes on a massive winning streak. This is an anime right now.
It's not the Mighty Ducks. It's not Remember the Titans. It's LEC. I don't know what to tell you. Key player of the game at LEC on Twitter. Gilius, Abba, Dreams. The miracle run is not done yet. They have not qualified, but a massive victory to be certain for Schalke.
It means that Schalke's playoff hopes are still alive, as well as Origin's playoffs hope are still alive. So Origin fans also celebrating Schalke tonight.
We'll see. It's going to depend on what happens in our next game, because it's do or die for Origin as they take on SK Gaming. Maybe they celebrate, maybe not. Find out after this.
They got something to play for.
Charged up. Hello, everybody. Let the game begin.
Welcome back to the LEC as we follow Schalke's big journey here for playoffs, and I have Abbedagge with me to talk about the victory today. Thank you very much for joining me.
Hey, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I mean, as always, there's been a bit more celebration from your side after this victory, unlike yesterday. So was there anything different for you winning today?
I think I just knew that it's going to be a very important win, and I was also really happy with my own performance today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was happy after both days, but today also it means a lot that we keep winning these games.
I know. I mean, a lose today meant that you were out. So talking to Gilius and everyone at Schalke, everybody told me that you try not to be affected by the pressure. But I mean, coming in today, knowing that if you lost this one, that would have been complicated. How did you feel?
I don't really get affected that much by the pressure. I think I actually do better under pressure than I do in like no pressure games. And I think also my whole team does really well in these pressure games. Like Odoamne and Gilius really stepped it up on all these games with high pressure on them. And I just did my best. I knew I'm going to give it my all, and we can do this.
You really can do this. I mean, can we still call this a miracle run when it's becoming so real? I mean, when I look at the scenarios right now, in 35.2% of the remaining scenarios, Schalke makes it to playoffs. So, yeah, as I said, can we still call that a miracle run from you guys?
I mean, it would...
Do you still see it this way?
Yeah, obviously it's like after the first half of the split, I was really down, and I thought it's just going to end in like a split that doesn't mean anything. But now we have the opportunity to make it mean something, and we are all really grinding to make it happen.
Well, we can see that all the passion coming from Schalke and the results, obviously. I mean, you were mentioning your performance today on Zoe. There's been this discussion at the caster desk about EU Zoe and how it's not a pick that usually works that well. But here, you got an amazing game. You got player of the game as well. So tell me about the performance you had today and how was it to play Zoe in this situation?
I'm pretty confident in my Zoe play, and I think the fact that it overall in the EU it's not doing that well is just, I don't know, most teams are like just too AFK and don't fight enough with the jump. But I know that if there's a fight and I just use all the summoner spells on the ground, we're gonna win it. And then, of course, hitting your bubbles and Qs is very important as well. I managed to do that today, so it looked that good. It can also go the other way.
That makes the difference between a clutch player and like a player who doesn't succeed in the end. But today you were very successful. Thank you very much, Abbedagge, for the interview, and congrats on winning this one again today.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. And for now, Schalke live to fight another day, and so will Origin. We'll see them after the break against SK Gaming. Stay tuned.